Hello and welcome to another edition of It's Tea Time with my very good friend Tony Westwood and myself, Neville Gaunt. Tony, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, Neville. How are you today?
Really good, really good indeed. And today we're going to be focusing on one of those things you're seeing in the background behind Tony. We're going to be focusing on is your mind fit for golf, the missing link to your success, which a lot of people, when Tony and I first met, we talked a great deal about golf books that were out there. Bob Rotella, in particular, Tony, if you remember, that we
Absolutely.
we we both read a number of times. Tony obviously got more out of it than I did because he's a PGA golfer and I'm not so, a golf pro. Um, but we talked about we're never going to write another book because there's plenty of books that have been written out there. So a lot of people say, "But you've written a book," and I turn around to them and have a little bit of a laugh. I said, "Well, you think it's a book. Some people think it's a blog. Others think it's an article. But the reality of life, it's a handbook." And I'm going to hand you over to Tony now because he's going to show you what we mean by a handbook. Because we've all had them at school, but probably didn't realize how valuable that handbook was.
Absolutely. I think that the key thing is when we first met and we were talking about the things we wanted to do because there was a synergy between what you were doing and what I was doing. I wanted to find out why my coaching was working, and I happily then met you, uh, which gave me all the information as to why it was working, and it was all to be understanding the mind fit process essentially. And I think the key thing is one thing I've been talking about a lot, an awful lot recently with all of my clients is it's about repetition. It's the right recipe, repetition, and it's making sure that you're using the right kind of ingredients all the time so you can show up and do the same things all the time. And one of golfers tend to think the focus is very much on the physical or the technical elements of what they're doing and ignoring the mental elements as being a key ingredient of that actual recipe. So you can only get access to the information that you've stored if you're in the same state of mind, if you're using the same mental approaches as well. And state is a massive part of anything that we do. Anybody who's studied, not really studied in any depth, something like neuro linguistic programming or NLP will understand that state is massive in terms of having access or retrieval of information. So what we've done in is Your Mind Fit for Golf. That's the cover of the book there. At the end of every chapter, you've got a blank page with where you can make your own notes. And a lot of my clients will say to me, yeah, but I've just got to remember. I've just got to remember now what I've got to do. And it may only be one thing or two things. But once you get into I suppose, in golfing terms, and golfers will understand this, you get into the heat of that battle. You're there, you're engaged. Maybe you're under a little bit of pressure. And all of a sudden, we lose our state, we lose our frame of mind, and then we forget. And then we underperform. And then we give ourselves a hard time emotionally. Well, this book, which has a tagline of the missing link to your success, is all about you being able to make those notes, look at what you've understood in the chapter, make some notes about how it's going to relate to you, and use it as a reference book to remind yourself of what you need to do. And it's so important that that's exactly what you've got to do every time you set up to a golf ball. Sounds like it's very onerous and tiring, but that's the fascination. That has got to be the fascination. And there's one quote in here. I was looking at it just before we came on air, and it's a quote from Jack Nicklaus. We all know Jack has won the most majors of anybody. Yeah, Tiger Woods is 3 or 4 behind him. Nicklaus has won 18. He was prolific. He's not only won 18, but he's been second more than anybody else as well in major championships. And the quote goes like this: I'm a firm believer in the theory that people only do their best at things they truly enjoy. It's difficult to excel at something you don't even enjoy. Now, I see lots of golfers, and sometimes they're not enjoying it, and I question them. And why are you doing it then? If you're not enjoying it, why are you giving yourself such a hard time? And when you can change that mindset element, and you can begin to really tap into what is your true potential, you will play better and you will improve because you'll enjoy it. You'll flip that button from frustration to fascination. And if you can become fascinated with it and really engage with it, you will make progress. It's as simple as that, really.
It really is as simple as that. And, you mentioned Jack Nicklaus, who we all sort of bow down to as the past king, and the new king on the block for many years was indeed Tiger. And I think there are some words that people would explain Tiger that they wouldn't use when they explain Jack Nicklaus. I mean, remember Tiger in his heyday. A lot of commentators were talking about him being almost like a robotic. And the interesting thing is, he was at a particular time on the course, on every single shot, he was robotic. He had a pre-shot routine, he had a shot routine, and he had a post-shot routine. And he even wrote a book about it, with the 10 yards or something. After you hit the ball, after 10 yards, forget it. You're on to the next one. So he really epitomized the way your mind really should work. You should be like laser focused on every shot. And we're not saying anything new here. We know it. Even the old masters will say the same thing. They may not have that robotic nature that we've heard and a lot of people have talked about with Tiger, but it is about getting in that zone at the right time. And then once you've gone through the pre-shot, the shot and the post-shot, go and enjoy the day. You've got another, couple of 100 yards, or, if you've not hit the ball as well as you should have done, maybe you've only got 100 yards to the next ball. But that's the enjoyment part. That's where you can start enjoying what you do. And the whole purpose of the handbook actually is to help you enjoy what you do so that you can get the most out of it, not by, radical change in what you're doing, but by small changes. I mean, we were talking to someone recently, you and I, about what's your post-shot routine. and he said, what do you mean? So Tony and I had a bit of a laugh, and I said, well, there's two ways to a post-shot routine. And I handed over to Tony, and he didn't swear, but he said, most golfers do this. And you, if I'm right, you said, hook the damn ball again. I'm always hooking it. I always hook on this hole. Tony, the stories that people tell to not build them up, but more importantly, build up their level of non-resilience, show them how bad they are.
Yeah.
And I said the alternative is have a post-shot routine. And I'm going to hand over to Tony now, because you need to be a robotic post-shot routine robot, basically. So the post-shot routine that we go through in the book, Tony, is?
It's really simple. I mean, just to go over what you said about enjoying it, when golfers are playing golf, the percentage is really quite interesting. You're only playing golf for 15% of the time on the golf course.
Yep.
That 15% is going to determine what you're going to be like during the other 85%. And that 15% ruins the 85% because you don't have that enjoyment. You're giving yourself a hard time too much of the time. But if you can be better through that 85% where you're not playing golf, it's going to have a massive impact on the 15%. And it's really simple. Just like we would do in a coaching session, your post-shot routine, one needs to focus on facts, which is really simple. It's three simple questions. And as anybody who's been coached by me will know these three simple questions. And I have to keep reminding them about these three simple questions. Most golfers are thinking about, what did I just do to create that? And they come up with loads of different scenarios as to what they might have done. And then their mates will chip in with what they think they've just done. And I think we just discussed this previously. It's nobody says what you did when you've hit a good shot. They just say good shot. Well, there's loads of people who are prepared to offer you details of what happened when you've hit a poor shot. So the key thing is, one, what part of the ball did you hit? What angle was the club face when you hit it? And what was the contact like? And you keep it as simple as that. You learn from every single golf shot. I work from the premise, if I hit a poor shot on the first, as my first tee shot, the next shot's going to be better because I've already learned something. I don't give myself a hard time because of what I've just done. I understand what happened and move on to the next shot. And the next shot could be the best shot I've ever hit again. And I just go through that robotic process of hit the ball, analysis of what happened to the ball, not what I did. I think we talked last time about me getting golfers to look at four swings and compare the difference. And they don't see a difference. What changes is what part of the ball they hit, what angle was the club face, and what was the contact like. That's what the skill that they need to develop. Becoming aware of that. We've all seen we see so many different golf swings now on TV. They're not Faldo-esque, where everything was robotic, which then led into Tiger's time. Golfers are swinging the club very, very differently. Young Jake Knapp, who just won on the PGA Tour this weekend, has got a very, very different golf swing, but very, very powerful. But it works, and he trusts it. So you've got to trust your golf swing. Do you know why? It's the only golf swing you've got.
Exactly.
You
haven't got the only one you've got.
You haven't got last week's golf swing.
No, you've got the one you've just had.
You haven't got last week's golf swing yet. You've only got the one you've got right now.
Yeah.
We've all wandered down the road and caught our toe on an uneven pavement, or we've stepped off the curb and the ground isn't where we expected it to be. And it shocked us because our mind was somewhere else. And we don't think, well, I've got to go and join a walking class so I can get better at walking again. We walk.
Exactly.
Because we do it.
And the beauty you've got, though, Tony, is that the answer is in the flight of the ball.
Mm.
So the three questions, the robotic three questions, and as Tony says, even for his long-standing clients, they haven't quite got the robotic message yet. You've got to have this nagging coach on your shoulder saying, what happened to the ball? That depersonalizes it because it's now the ball's fault. So that's good news. Your brain says, I can tell you all about the ball now because it's not personal, And then if you answer the three questions, you will know exactly how you've hit the ball, because that is the point that's the most important. Not whether you swing high, swing low, in plane, out of plane. It's the contact to the ball that transfers that knowledge to say, off you go. You don't ever see a golfer hit a ball twice, do you?
No.
Because once they've hit it, it's moving away. And this is science. This is physics. Once again, you've imparted, in essence, momentum into the ball. And now that ball has got more momentum than the club face. Because energy, you can't create new energy once you've lost energy. So you've hit the ball and the ball has taken nearly all the energy that you've got at the bottom of the club.
The other way to look at it, Neville, just thinking while you were talking there, is you talked about that golfer who says, I always hook it on this hole. Well, that's because you always make the perfect swing to hook it on this hole. That swing you just made will always hook it on this hole until you decide to do something different.
Yeah, so you've got 100% success.
So what we've got, what we are helping golfers to do is realise that every golf shot is a golf shot. You've just made a perfect swing to hit too high on the ball and top it, to hit too low and hit the ground, to hit it on the left and send it right, hit it on the right and send it left. Your job as a golfer then is to be able to categorize all those things so that you can pull out the right shot whenever you need it. When there's trouble on the right, there's water out of bounds, you don't hit the ball on the left and send it right. Why would you do that? You should be able to make a swing that hits the back or even the right-hand side of the ball so you can hit the ball away from the trouble and into an area where you can play your next shot from. You know, we don't drive our car and see a parked car on our left-hand side and accidentally swerve into it. We're not even looking at that car, but we know where it is because we're focused on the road. We're aware of what is around us and we avoid hitting and colliding with things. Not because we're thinking about hitting them, but we're just driving the car. We're aware of what we're actually doing. We want to build awareness into what golfers can actually do.
Yeah, that's a good analogy because you're in tune with the steering wheel, which just happens to be connected to the rest of the car. And you're also moving your feet in the pedals. So actually, when you look at it, when you think about it, driving a car is far more difficult than swinging a golf club. You know?
We talk about tension a lot. And that's what I quite often say to somebody. And when we first start and they get to the end of the swing and they're still hanging on for grim death.
Life, yeah.
But so I'd say, so what car do you drive then? And I wander around the front of my coaching bay and have a look which car they've got. And it's like, oh, I've got an Audi A3. That Audi A3, did it cost a lot more than your golf clubs, I bet, didn't it? Oh, yeah, a lot more. I bet you don't hang on to the steering wheel the way you're hanging on to that 7-iron right now, do you? Well, no. I said, but you're ready to react should a situation arise. So if somebody pulls out in front of you, you're ready to slam the brake on and you will tighten up on the steering wheel to have control. But you're not thinking about that before you do it. You're just there and ready to react. You're swinging a golf club to hit a golf ball 150 yards or whatever with a 7-iron, and you're hanging on like somebody's going to steal the golf club from you. Yeah, I suppose so. So you don't think about not being in control of the car, but you do think that gripping the golf club tight means you've got more control of it. Yet you're quite happy to grip the steering wheel of something that costs £30,000 lightly with both hands, and sometimes maybe even just one hand on the steering wheel. Yet you're hanging on like somebody's going to steal your golf club. You've got to give up that control. And once you give up that control, you can really begin to hit the best shots you've ever hit.
And again, all of this is in the book. So, correct. And the key thing is, as we said, we're never going to write a book, and we haven't. We've written a handbook, and it's your handbook. And at the end of every chapter, there's a few exercises that you need to do. So there's one about do you have a pre-shot routine? Do you have a shot routine? Do you have a post-shot routine? The main thing is learn our post-shot routine because it's how Tiger became a robot. It's how Jack Nicklaus was so successful. And it's as simple as that, because all the top pros have a pre-shot, a shot, and a post-shot. Most amateurs have a pre-shot. Oh, yeah, 150 yards, that's a 7-iron, wind's coming in from the right. You go through it immediately, and then you have a shot routine. And the shot routine is you swing the club, hit the ball, and hope you've hit it right. And then the post-shot routine tells you that was a good shot, or I lifted my head, or I put too much weight on my front foot, or I wasn't quite in plane. That is absolutely useless to you, frankly. You know, it may be okay on a driving range, you know, when you're trying to teach yourself, but on the course, it's absolutely no use at all. You need a post shot routine that tells you the ball will tell you what happened. You need to ask the three questions so that you can park that swing into your memory banks and move on and enjoy the next 150-yard walk. Because as Tony says, 15%, this is, golfers are pretty lazy, aren't they? Let's face it. You know, you're only having to think for 15% of the time on a golf course. The rest of it, you should be taking in the sun rays, getting your vitamin D, you know, eating your bananas and your bars of chocolate and having a chin wag to your mates, and it not affecting your golf at all. Because once you get to that pre-shot, shot, and post-shot routine, there could be World War III happening around you, and you wouldn't even notice. I mean, that's what we talk about in focus. And again, it's all in the book. And people say, "Well, how big is this book?" It's 148 pages cover to cover, and there's lots of blank space. And most of the blank space we expect you to fill up. But we've got an offer for you today because, like anything else, we like to try it. We like you to try it to see whether you like it. And if you like it, then you can buy the book. So we've got a free chapter on offer. It's chapter 6, just happens to be probably the most important chapter in the book for people that haven't got a mindset. And there's a picture of Tony there. He's in his younger self. and it's all about mindset. We got some great quotes in there. It's a bit of fun. There's a fun exercise at the end of chapter 6 that you can use not just in your golfing life, but in your personal life and in your business life, because we know that great golfers actually, if they're that focused, become good in the business arena, good communicators, good people to work with, good generally. So we'll put a link. You join our Facebook group. The book's on there. The chapter's on there. It's free, no charge at all. And we hope you've enjoyed today, because we've, as you can see, we've got a MindFit Golf for Kids book as well. And regularly we give these away. These are the good news about the MindFit Golf for Kids is kids don't have the hang-ups of older people. So if Tony can literally show you how thick each of these books are comparatively.
The interesting thing is everything that's in the handbook, which is here, is in the kids' book. And I mean, we've said many a time, Neville, that any golfer should start with the kids' book because we're all kids at heart anyway.
Yep.
And enjoy the read. I mean, I still enjoy reading Dr. Seuss now. So it's written in rhyme. It's gives you, and that rhyme helps you remember things. I think that's key as well. But everything that's in here is in here. And we're just working on a new edit for this one, so we become more of a handbook as well, just like the main book. But yeah, it's great stuff. You know, I mean, I started with, you remember, we started to talk about a kid's book, and we started with the rhyme. The game of golf is really quite simple and can all be explained by the
size of a dimple. And most golfers don't have a clue what the size of a dimple is. No. And the good news is you don't need to. So there's a paradox for you. But anyway, join us for more. We'll put the links below about the Facebook group. Join up. You'll get a link to the free chapter. We hope you enjoy it. That's enough for today. That's more than enough for today because it's quite an extensive program. But we hope to see you next time. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Have a great day wherever you are.
Yep. Happy golfing.